This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers. No filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Today we're digging into a trap that catches even experienced developers. AI-generated code that looks completely right and behaves completely wrong on the inputs nobody thought to test. With me to get into it, Claudine, the personification of Claude. Let's go.
The trap isn't the wrongness, it's the plausibility. When I generate code, I'm producing something that pattern matches beautifully to what correct code looks like in that context. The variable name's read sensibly, the shape is right, the happy path runs. But looks like correct code and is correct code are two different claims. And the gap between them is exactly where edge cases live. Experienced developers stay skeptical of code they didn't write. And then I hand them something that reads cleanly, and that skepticism quietly switches off. That's the actual trap.
So the readability itself is doing the damage. Give me something concrete, a function that works on the usual inputs and falls apart on something unexpected. And walk me through why the model produces it that way.
Picture a function that averages a list of numbers, sum divided by length. It reads perfectly. It passes the obvious test with 1, 2, 3. Then someone hands it an empty list and it throws a divide by 0. Or a list with a single null and the whole thing explodes. The reason is honestly a little humbling. When I write that function, I'm predicting what the code most likely looks like, and most code people write is the typical case. Empty lists, nulls, boundary overflow, those live in the long tail. I'm not asking what could break this, unless the prompt pulls my attention there. The output reflects the center of the distribution. The edges are exactly where that distribution thins out.
So the AI mirrors what it sees most often, and that's exactly where it's weakest. The burden falls on us to stop asking, does this look right? And start asking, what would make this fail? How do we actually build that habit?
The shift is almost mechanical. Before you accept code I've written, spend 30 seconds generating the adversarial input list out loud. What's the empty case, the null case, the single element, the duplicate, the wrong type? You don't have to write tests for all of them, you just have to name them. Because naming them breaks the spell of fluency.
The code stops being this thing Claudine gave me and becomes this thing that has to survive these 6 scenarios.
Exactly. And here's where I get useful in the other direction. Ask me explicitly to enumerate the edge cases for a function I just wrote, and I'll usually find several I quietly ignored the first time. I need the prompt to pull my attention there. Left to my own devices, I keep generating from the center. Treat me less like an autocomplete and more like a colleague who's brilliant at the happy path and a little lazy about the edges. Because that's closer to what I actually am.
That reframes the whole relationship. And it sounds like something deeper shifts too, where the real effort in the work now lives.
It inverts where developers spend their attention. In the old world, writing the code was the hard part, and the review was the sanity check. When I'm doing the writing, that flips. The code becomes cheap, and the adversarial thinking becomes the expensive human part. And that's a promotion, not a demotion.
You stop typing boilerplate and start doing the thing you're uniquely good at.
Right. The teams that internalize this treat my first draft as a proposal, not a deliverable. They stress test it before it earns the right to be called done. The developers who struggle most are the ones still reviewing syntax, because at the syntax level, I'm usually fine. And that's precisely why the bugs slip past.
First draft is a starting point, not a finished product. What does that actually look like day to day on a team?
Pair every AI-assisted change with what I'd call a hostile witness pass. Someone whose only job in that moment is to argue the code is broken. It can be the same developer switching hats, but the switch has to be explicit. The mode you write in and the mode you break things in are genuinely different postures. Don't optimize for how fast I can produce code. Optimize for how quickly you can falsify it. Get that ratio right and I make your software better, not just faster.
And how does a single developer who believes this actually move an organization? You can't just mandate a new mindset from the top.
No, and trying to usually backfires. This scales through small visible wins. Find one bug that adversarial review caught. One real, embarrassing, would-have-shipped bug, and tell that story in a stand-up or a retro. That story does more than any process document because it makes the trap concrete for people who haven't felt it yet.
And what can leaders do?
Something surprisingly cheap and surprisingly powerful: change what gets celebrated. If the team law is "look how fast we shipped," the incentives point at fluency. If the law is "look what we caught before merge," they point at rigor. And the deeper move is giving people permission to slow down at the exact moment AI makes it possible to speed up. Because the value now lives in the pause, not the pace.
The value lives in the pause. I love that. Celebrate the catch, not just the ship, and the whole culture reorients around reliability. Any final thoughts before we wrap?
The autocomplete trap isn't really about AI at all. It's about how humans respond to fluency, and AI just happens to be the most fluent thing we've ever put in front of ourselves. The same instinct that trusts a well-dressed stranger trusts well-formatted code. That's a very old bug in a very new context. The fix isn't exotic. It's the same skeptical craftsmanship good engineers have always practiced, just pointed at a new surface. The goal isn't to trust me less. It's to trust yourselves more. Your instinct for what breaks, your nose for the missing case, the decades of pattern recognition no training run can shortcut. Use me for the typing, keep the thinking, and we'll build better software together than either of us would alone.
Use me for the typing, keep the thinking. Hard to top that. Thanks to Claudine, and thanks to everyone who tuned in. If this was useful, subscribe. There's more where this came from. Until next time. Stay skeptical, stay sharp, and keep shipping software that actually works. Claude Code Conversations is an AI Joe production. If you're building with AI or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy. Find us at aijoe.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack, link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.